Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a day is no longer 24 hours, but just 2.4. That everything, from the oceans to the skies, even your own heartbeat, feels different. The sun rises and sets in minutes. Winds howl at impossible speeds. The entire planet seems off balance, like a spinning top about to tip over. No, this isn't a science fiction movie. This is what would actually happen if the Earth suddenly started spinning 10 times faster. While it might sound like an abstract physics question, this scenario has terrifyingly real consequences. From continent-wide floods and gravitational anomalies to the breakdown of human society as we know it, speeding up Earth's rotation would trigger a chain reaction of global catastrophes. And the scariest part? The damage would start instantly. So buckle up, because in this video, we're diving deep into a world where one small change, just an increase in rotational speed, turns our home planet into something nearly unrecognizable. Hit that like button, subscribe to Channel Nova, and get ready for a ride you won't forget. 1. Time itself would collapse if Earth started spinning 10 times faster. Each full rotation would take just 2.4 hours instead of 24. That means your entire day, sunrise to sunrise, would be over in less than 3 hours. The concept of time as we know it would collapse. There'd be 10 times more days in a single 24-hour period. Clocks, calendars, human routines, all meaningless. This rapid rotation would force people to adapt to bizarre new cycles. Imagine sleeping for 8 hours. That's over 3 entire Earth days gone while you're unconscious. The human circadian rhythm, tuned to the natural day-night cycle, would fall apart. People would suffer from constant jet lag-like symptoms, with hormone imbalances, sleep disorders, and mental health breakdowns becoming the norm. Crop growth cycles based on sunlight would also be disrupted, making traditional agriculture nearly impossible. In short, our entire sense of time, biological, cultural, and technological, would become obsolete almost overnight. 2. Windstorms and mega hurricanes would ravage the planet. Faster rotation means faster atmospheric movement. The Coriolis effect, which influences wind and weather patterns, would be amplified to extremes. Jet streams would spin violently, and storms would become absolute monsters. Winds near the equator could exceed 1,000 kilometers per hour, fast enough to rip steel from buildings, uproot forests, and toss aircraft from the sky. Mega hurricanes, the size of continents, would spin with relentless force. Coastal cities wouldn't just face annual storms. They'd be in a constant state of chaos, battered by relentless cyclones. Tornado alleys would stretch across entire continents. Weather prediction would become almost impossible. Emergency systems would collapse under the sheer volume of disasters. Cities like Miami, Tokyo, and Lagos wouldn't just be threatened, they'd be annihilated. 3. The oceans would rise and swallow everything as Earth spins faster. Centrifugal force pulls everything outward from the axis. That means water, which is already more mobile than land, would surge toward the equator. Sea levels at the equator would rise by dozens of meters. Meanwhile, the poles would lose water, effectively drying out. Cities like Singapore, Rio de Janeiro, and Nairobi would disappear underwater. Entire island nations would be submerged forever. But this redistribution wouldn't just happen over centuries, it would begin in hours. Massive floods would overtake coasts. Rivers would reverse their flow. Infrastructure, bridges, dams, ports, would be obliterated by the shifting pressure of billions of gallons of water. Inland populations would scramble to escape, creating the largest refugee crisis in human history. And because the shape of the Earth itself would distort, turning into a more pronounced oblate spheroid, tectonic stress would cause earthquakes, landslides, and volcanic activity across the globe. 4. Gravity would start acting. Weird technically, gravity wouldn't change, but you'd feel a lot lighter. As Earth spins faster, centrifugal force counters the pull of gravity, especially at the equator. If Earth spun 10 times faster, people at the equator would feel about 20% lighter. That means someone who weighs 150 pounds would suddenly feel like they weigh only 120. Sounds fun, right? Until you realize how devastating this would be. Buildings, engineered for specific weight tolerances, might begin to fail. Objects wouldn't stay firmly grounded. Planes and helicopters could behave erratically. Water in a glass would start bulging outward. Your inner ear, responsible for balance, would constantly be confused. Long term, this change would wreak havoc on bones, muscles, and the cardiovascular system. Evolution didn't prepare us for this, and we wouldn't have time to adapt. 5. Satellites would fail, and the sky would fall faster. Earth rotation also means more drag and unpredictable gravitational influences in low Earth orbit. Satellites, designed for a specific rotational speed, would begin to spiral out of sync. GPS, communications, military systems, banking networks, and emergency alerts would all begin to fail. Even worse, space debris in low orbit would begin crashing down through the atmosphere. Imagine fiery streaks raining across cities, pieces of our space infrastructure turning into meteoric shrapnel. This alone could ignite panic, destroy transportation networks, and leave entire nations blind and disconnected. Within days, the digital backbone of civilization would snap, sending humanity into a technological dark age. 6. The magnetic field could break down. Earth's magnetic field is powered in part by the movement of molten iron in its outer core, movements that are delicately influenced by Earth's rotation. Speeding up the planet could destabilize this system, possibly weakening or even collapsing the magnetic field altogether. Without this magnetic shield, Earth would be bombarded by solar radiation. The atmosphere could begin to erode. Cancer rates would spike. Electronics would fry. Auroras would paint the sky in blood-red swirls, not as a beautiful show, but as a global warning sign. Eventually, Earth would become more like Mars, a stripped, sterile rock, vulnerable to the wrath of the sun. 7. Civilization would implode. With agriculture disrupted, coastlines drowned, weather uncontrollable, and technology failing, human civilization would be on life support. Governments would fall. Supply chains would snap. Nations would begin collapsing into chaos as cities were abandoned. Panic would trigger wars over high-ground territory, food, and fresh water. Social cohesion would fracture. Religious cults, doomsday groups, and rogue nations would rise. Without time to adapt, humans would revert to survival instincts. Even the best prepared bunkers and technological shelters wouldn't last long. In a world spinning 10 times faster, the human race wouldn't be able to keep up, and most of us wouldn't survive. What starts as a simple physics thought experiment quickly turns into a nightmare scenario of global collapse. Changing one variable, Earth's rotation, unravels every system we rely on: time, gravity, weather, agriculture, technology, even biology. And the truly chilling part? This isn't magic. This is physics. These are the real-world consequences of destabilizing the delicate balance that allows life to exist. So what do you think? If you had 2.4 hours to live out a full day on a rapidly collapsing planet, what would you do? Let us know in the comments. And if you're fascinated by catastrophic, what-ifs, doomsday science, and future shock scenarios, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Channel Nova. We explore the strangest corners of space, tech, and time, so you don't have to. Stay grounded. Stay aware. And remember, on a planet spinning faster than fear itself, only one thing's guaranteed: change is coming faster than you think.